Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Kevin, joined here by Andy and our good friend Scott.
Scotty Cook.
Who refuses to put on the cans, but that's okay.
Should I go sans cans to
Sans
make you feel
cans?
better?
Cans. That's
Like,
the name of the podcast, right?
Would you feel more comfortable if
You know what? Actually, if you were shirtless with them on, that would be
That would be
preferred.
ideal.
It's
I can't
not
hear you,
Thursday.
Scott. You're
that
not
from
wearing
the
your
record.
headphones.
Yeah, what?
Anyway, Scott, who are you? Tell them why you're here. Tell them who you are and why you're here.
I have two opposable thumbs, and my name is Scott Cook, and I've been in and around the sort of creative agency world for over 20 years, and I go back with you guys very far.
Many moons.
Many moons.
Is it even longer than that?
It's longer than
You
that.
guys
Yeah.
came up in the...
The 90s.
We're what you call old.
That's right. We had Andy and I had some creative musical collaboration in the 90s. That's how we
Love it.
connected. And
Probably
then we
some good
reconnected.
blackmail footage laying around
Oh
somewhere.
yeah. There's
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
no. That's
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. Quickly moving on from that. The polka outfit that we had there. And I've just been in the kind of web design development and creative agency / product design world for 20 plus years. And that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah. We thought, man, who better to bring in than this old, grizzled, experienced veteran from the creative world
That's right.
Well,
And,
augment that too. I mean,
Ridden
Scott,
hard and put away wet.
to talk about all the things. All right.
we've known Scott so long that we've had the opportunity to have that life takes you apart, brings you together, brings you apart, brings you. So in waves, we've reconnected and realigned. And I think over the years, seeing you walk through big agency, little agency partnerships, you're a top shelf like creative business thinker, design guru, and you've been through all the different ways that can play out creatively and professionally. And I think you bring a lot of experience and wisdom that would be very valuable because you've just walked all the walks, you've done it all, and you're still here and you're still breathing.
Somehow
and alive.
still
Yes.
upright.
It's still upright
Perpendicular
despite.
to the ground.
So as we dive in, I want to kind of take a step back because obviously when you got your start, things were way different than they are today. And you've seen everything from, the W-2 world to the contracting world to solopreneur, entrepreneur, agency, partnership. Man, what did it look like when you first started out? I mean, was it Flash? Was it before Flash? Like what was the...
Yeah. I came into this in the very early 2000s when Flash was everything. Shockwave, Flash. I'm sure,
There's a word I haven't heard in a while.
right?
Shockwave.
Anybody under 40 watching this are going to be like, what's he talking about? So
Is that the new AI?
Computers
There's a
had
new
a hand
AI
crank
called
on
Aren't you
them.
like a certified Dreamweaver?
Oh, yeah. Front page. That's right. Front page. Hand coding HTML in front page. But seriously, that's kind of the where things were when I came into this world. And and to say the least, it's changed quite a bit over the decades. So, yeah.
So just kind of take us through that little bit of that, skip the rock across the pond for us. Maybe go by decade, just your journey, set the stage.
Sure. So I got started, my title was actually a new media designer for a big .com, very kind of stereotypical .com in the early 2000s where they had the vending machines and the ping pong table room and all of that. We were doing a lot of, just kind of promotional microsites and things like that. From there, I started going more into the boutique agency side of things with, 8-10 people kind of size Atlanta agencies, and doing more and more Flash, websites and that sort of thing.
Every time you say Flash, can you say Flash?
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Thank you.
you should.
No, you'll
in
do the,
post,
okay, I'll do that.
You'll
Anyway.
want to add that.
Yeah.
Somewhere around like 04, 05, I started just getting more freelance work, and it was also that kind of coincided with hating the commute from the suburbs of Gwinnett down to down to Atlanta, and I was like, you know what, I think I'm gonna give it a go full time, this freelance thing. And that experiment ended up inadvertently creating an agency. Where
when you did that, what was your primary discipline? Were you like?
I was a Flash designer developer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you could liken Flash to kind of what Webflow sort of is today. And it was sort of this kind of closed system, one-stop authoring environment, creation environment, however you want to put it, development platform. And so I was very much focused on that. That was my primary tool for creating experiences. Pre-mobile, everybody was consuming this kind of content and these kind of experiences on, larger screens. And I had one particular project kind of come across my plate just randomly for Bacardi, their mojito beverage. And in the right set of circumstances happened where I was given a kind of unlimited timeline to just kind of, blow it out. Not a lot of constraints or parameters. And so I just had fun with that Bacardi site. And this was at a time where we would design with a constrained viewport, all these experiences, just to ensure that it displayed, the right way on everybody's screens. But
on your Windows 95 screen.
On your CRT monitor.
Did you use all 16 colors or did you?
At least 10.
Right.
And
only 8 of which were web safe.
There you go. Exactly.
He had like 3 fonts.
And by the way, what's accessibility? So the complete disregard for anybody with visual or audio impairments or anything like that. We just did whatever. It was the Wild West of web design and development. There were no, kind of web 2.0 sort of, parameters.
Well, but it's the early 2000s, right?
This was more kind of mid. We were getting like around 2005 at this point.
But the internet, I'm trying to think, how mature was the internet? Because you weren't getting leads off Instagram, right? So like, how did you get? What was the connection there? Like, because it was a lot more analog, right? Back then,
that's a great point. Yeah. So the way things kind of worked back then is there were these communities like Ultra Shock and like I think it was called. Not Flash Forward, that was a conference, but there were these sort of like forum sites that would showcase your work, showcase the better websites. And a lot of times, clients that was their starting routine in the morning, was to go visit these websites and see what the cool, kind of featured, site or project was. And then the next thing you know, you get an email saying, "Hey, I saw your thing on Ultra Shock, and we've got a client who needs this." And so not too dissimilar from kind of how it works now in that sort of organic way, but just the platforms were a bit
right,
a bit different. It was more forums and that kind of thing.
It's back when people would type HTTPS :
100%. Yeah. Where was I going?
How many W's?
That's right. Yeah. So a lot of that kind of stuff just came through these forums that you could showcase your work on. And
it's funny. I remember getting reached out to when I was at SCAD back in the day. I got an email from a creative director that sourced me off of one of those forums. Like, oh, here's where the SCAD students are. We're going to go, grab some new talent or whatnot. That's really interesting. So this is back, you grew up in those tooadvanced.com days. Man. That was like you got the hat and bought the t-shirt kind of. That site was amazing.
Swag. Yeah, I was definitely among those who were, that site lit a fire.
Yeah.
I mean, that I feel like you can point to Too Advanced as just a strategic. Wow.
Pivotability.
What's in my,
yeah.
It was one of those pivotal moments, that really sort of, it kind of changed the web and how people thought about websites and online experiences like that and what you could do. And so, I'm definitely among those who were, that impacted me tremendously. and so that Bacardi site, that was a pivotal moment for me in my kind of career path, because I, kind of built that outside of that viewport and went kind of full browser with that, which that was starting to happen around then.
The full browser.
The full browser
All
experience.
1080
Full screen.
Yeah.
What was that like as a younger creative, landing a big whopping client like that? Like, were you scared? I mean, what was the process like for you? Because I think younger creatives now that are seeing, they're wanting to land the big client. How do you, what'd you learn through that?
It was, I remember excitement more than anything. Just going, wow.
You're too young to know what you got into, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And it was it was also intimidating, sure, because up to that point, I, hadn't really worked on a brand that big, that kind of important. But
you mean Joe's big ass storage and foot massage parlor?
Yeah, I mean
Didn't count.
that was that almost put me on.
It's like two businesses in one.
That's right. Oh man, that's a good startup idea right there, I think. Maybe.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the video, check it out on YouTube.
But the floodgates opened after that.
Right.
That launched.
Yeah.
And then so what happened after that is like I got a Chevy Silverado. I think it was the 2007 Chevy Silverado website, and I brought in a friend to help me build it, who I met on one of those forums. I think it was on the Ultrashock forum. I had seen him post his work there, and that was sort of the catalyst for my agency that I started back then. And then we just started getting recognition for the work we were doing, and that would lead to 4 or 5 new emails in the inbox the next day.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how it worked. We didn't have any sort of proactive or intentionality behind our, there was no new biz presence. Right. It was all just reactionary. So several years of running kind of a very reactionary, we would joke that our new business or sales person was the FWA award. We'd garner one of those awards, and then all of a sudden we'd have, some VP at an agency or somebody at a decision maker at some brand, saying, "Hey, we'd love for you to work on this thing."
I was going to ask you how much. I mean, I think the takeaway I'm hearing is that because we're not even done, obviously, with the path here, but the idea that you don't have to have this perfect plan before you get started, and often when you just pursue excellence, success will follow, versus like running after success and trying to get all your ducks in a row and then execute exactly along this sort of predetermined path. I mean, I'm sure people have done that, but I'm just saying, as creatives, often I think we can get stuck in this sort of fear or unknown or analysis paralysis about how do I make sure but you were just, to your point, going along. I guess in this case, you were a specialist. You weren't really a generalist in that area at that time.
Correct.
And I was going to ask, how much did awards play into that? And you kind of went there with that. You said FWA.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm hearing you. Keep going.
No, that's a great point about how there are kind of different approaches or pathways to success, which is obviously a, kind of a relative idea or concept. But yeah, in my case, it was really pursuing excellence in, web design and development and putting out experiences that were super immersive and engaging, or attempting to. And because, I didn't really have much sort of innate business sense, I not really much of a kind of business centric entrepreneur, very much a creator and maker. And back then, at least, being really good at being a maker could get you a long way, I guess. So that's a good point. But from there, the agency just sort of organically grew as we got bigger clients and projects, and we ended up, doing things for like Mercedes AMG and Quaker Oats. It was all over the map, really, in terms of brands.
You've
and
done stuff with Jeep and other...
Jeep. That project in particular ended up in the Communication Arts magazine. And one kind of surreal experience I had was around 2008, I think it was. I walked into a Barnes and Noble, and you all know that they've got that magazine rack that like stretches the entire wall, or they're used to in some of the locations.
Yeah.
And all at the same time, there were 3 different magazines that had content, something we had done, or either an interview, like a review of our agency, and like or showcasing one of the projects we did.
Yeah.
It was like Web Designer Magazine, .NET Magazine, and then like Communication Arts.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Just, that's...
Yeah.
We've made it. We're there.
Yes. So, in any case, that was one of those moments that I kind of went, all right, it was a bit, not to like sidetrack, into therapy or whatever, but, I was this wildly ADHD kid, who just didn't do well academically at all until college, and constantly stressed my parents out through my suboptimal performance, and that, of course, that has an impact on your confidence, right?
Sure.
That you're like, oh, I'm fundamentally flawed, and I'm just gonna hope that I can make something of myself, but that moment in Barnes and Noble was definitely a boost to my confidence that I needed, and I'm grateful for.
I love it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
What was the catalyst from, like, you were like a solo discipline kind of guy, or a focused discipline guy, and like now, of course, you're more diverse. Was that causation the industry changing, or was it like, I'm just tired of scratching this itch, I need to scratch a new itch, or like what broadened you out, and what was like the catalyst for that?
Super great question.
It was, wasn't it? I worked on that one. I practiced in front of the mirror. Like, what was?
Two thumbs up.
Okay,
on
thanks, buddy.
5 stars. It was out of necessity. It wasn't. I don't think I would have ever gotten tired of creating, just cool experiences with Flash or whatever. It was the advent of mobile devices and the death of Flash, which you could do a whole series of podcasts on the kind of shift in tools and technology around that time. It was having to pivot, and being Gen X, we're experts on kind of pivoting. So it was out of necessity. It was okay, Flash is dead. We're designing mobile first now, and trying to create experiences that can be consumed easily and highly performant on mobile devices, and then things kind of became sort of more product centric, and less about kind of like whiz bang, or I should say more easy and quick to consume on a handheld device.
Yeah.
So that shift happened, and for me that meant really needing to kind of retool and adapt and learn new platforms and tools and that kind of thing. And ultimately around 2011, late 2011, I left my agency. I exited to my partner in St. Louis. At that point, we had grown to have, we had locations. We had an office in downtown St. Louis and one in Lawrenceville, of all places, because that was
Old Larryville,
close to my house. So I didn't want to have it in Atlanta for obvious reasons. That commute is something I wanted to avoid.
Yeah, you just could say Atlanta area or serving Atlanta.
Yeah. That's how we did kind of position it.
Yeah.
And in any case, so we had grown to about, 6 employees, I think, including us, including the partners at that point. But I exited out to him, and that's a story in and of itself, that a cautionary tale about burnout and self-care and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that was a big deal for me, because I went from that to consulting with like the Weather Channel and more software centric companies in Atlanta, and that really kind of sharpened my sort of like UX and more user experience centric kind of tool set, I guess.
Now, as you mentioned these different phases you're going through here with this, was your personality like naturally inclined to just adapt and to take on new changes and challenges, or was that a real struggle for you? Like, how did you feel like that? How do you receive that? I mean, do you respond well to this, new trends or new preferences in the marketplace, or new tools you got to learn, or teams you have to build, or et cetera, or do you just get exhausted by that?
I think it's yes.
Yeah.
I think it's frustrating and exhausting. But at the same time, I've done a pretty good job with kind of pivoting and adapting. Because I love I love the end result, the output with these experiences and things that the content that we're creating. So it I think fuels that kind of ability to pivot and adapt. But at the same time, it can be frustrating and exhausting.
Yeah.
So, and now that pace of change and innovation and retooling is crazy compared to what it was, several years ago.
Speaking of now, like if you jump ahead, and you've been through these, cycles several times, and now of course with AI. AI.
So this is for the
So I'm wondering, how has that been any different for you, or are you just grabbing that bull by the horns, or how has this sort of multifaceted background, creatively speaking, how are you taking AI and leveraging it in your current world, or if at all, and what do you see in terms of the direction and the trends therein?
Man,
We're screwed.
Yeah. Give up. Just, forget about it. It's all over.
Kill the lights. Turn it off.
That's right.
Go
Yeah.
home.
Yeah. Wow. What a can of worms there.
Yeah, man.
So in terms of how I'm leveraging it is, I'm kind of approaching it the same way I will. How can I put this? I'm leveraging it the same way I had been with like Stack Overflow, or these kind of resources that you use as a helper, as an assistant.
You're regarding it as a tool, or an augmentation to what you're doing.
Thank you. I'm utilizing it as an augmentation to my workflow.
Is that in coding, design, across all of them?
Yes.
Okay.
All of the above.
All of the above.
Yeah, it's really allowed me to kind of supercharge, my workflow and output. So, yeah.
You've been camping out here at Forum with us for a few years since we reconnected, and I think we were all kind of hanging together the last couple of years as AI has become the thing and transformed all of us. There's a lot of hallway conversations that we can capture for this that have been part of that journey, I think, for you and us. And even though we're in slightly different fields, we collaborate, and we're experiencing the same like kind of fear of, oh, this is gonna, cut that junior editor job, or this is gonna cut that junior coding job, out of my team. How do you wrestle with the client perspective of like, well, Scott, you should be able to do everything now because, if you're using AI, like you should be all things to all people for half the price. Like, is that impacting you at all? Because that's a common thread we're hearing in the video and production and film side of things.
No. So that hasn't.
Already, let's move on.
All right, next. Here's my insightful.
Can I get a better question from someone else, please?
That hasn't been my experience yet, where there's a sort of client expectation of, ridiculously fast turnarounds and that sort of thing. Fortunately.
On the flip side, if you had pushback, and I'll like when we had a conversation with Chris Arias about AI, talking about writing, and I was sharing that my wife does copywriting, and they had a client that's like, we demand you do not use any AI tools. And then she got a sample from them that was written by a different writer, and it was like clearly AI generated. There's just a lot of confusion, fear, client pushback. Are you experiencing the inverse of that? Are you experiencing pushback of like?
No, where I'm experiencing that is, or sort of the impact of AI, is apprehension on the part of clients. I think that there is a general tone of like, maybe we should kind of hold back on this campaign or this initiative, because we're not sure maybe how much of this we can do, with maybe in-house, utilizing AI tools. So I've experienced a little bit of things being sort of on hold because clients want to sort of watch and see, if there's a way perhaps they can leverage AI themselves.
Everybody's afraid if I build this now, next week I'm going to feel like a fool because something will have come out that does this for a third of the price or something. It'll be done automatically and it's free. And
correct.
It's just a constant uncertainty that comes with that versus just saying, hey, you got to start somewhere. Let's just go and maybe,
I'm not experiencing that to like a significant degree that it's really sort of disruptive to my business and work. It's just I think it's something I sense more than I have like hard data to demonstrate it being a reality. So I think that's kind of where there's, AI has sort of had an impact on what I'm doing right now. But I have not yet experienced, a sort of demand for, quick turnaround. But I'm seeing a lot from peers in the industry who do similar work to what I do. I'm seeing them say that, there's a sort of devaluing happening rapidly, where the rates that they used to be able to get, they can't get anymore. And they're attributing that to sort of, the AI capabilities, the agentified kind of workflow.
Yeah.
So,
And we were talking prior to the session that you think the future is going to be micro agencies a little bit, right? Can you talk a little bit about that versus Mammoth, large agency of record?
I think the big traditional agencies are dying off. They're going to die off pretty quickly.
Yeah.
There's a democratization that's happening through these agents and tools, AI-driven tools, that just makes that model kind of obsolete. You're going to have groups of 2, 3, 5 people who, powered by, a throttle grip on AI tools that they're leveraging in workflows, that they're going to be able to accomplish the same level of output and quality.
Yeah.
With a lot fewer people and a lot less red tape and bureaucracy and that sort of thing. So I think this notion of the big agency of record for brand A or brand B, that just I think is going to quickly go the way of the dinosaur.
So how do we pivot as creatives and leverage that for success and to ride the wave versus being, succumb to it kind of things? Drive the steamroller versus getting steamrolled, as we talk about. What's your thoughts or opinion on that?
And that's a great question.
Do you dive into these things yourself, or do you go out and you seek out the people who are living and breathing that, and you try to onboard them as your part of your team, or are you going to conferences and figure? I don't know. Just wondering what and it's okay not to know. I think all of us are in that sort of. All of us are learning, especially even early adopters are still figuring this stuff out.
And there's to a certain extent, there's those of us who are makers and creatives who, we're hesitant to over-index on a particular tool or platform or workflow because every week something,
Yeah.
world changing almost, comes
Yeah.
out.
It's like, oh, I just got done learning Sora. I'm an expert. And then here comes Kling and VO3
Right.
and
You've made promises, and all of a sudden your Zinglebat login doesn't work. You're like, we're no longer in business. Sorry.
Right.
You're like, what?
Oh my God. Yeah. No, but for real. I mean, so back in the day, we could really over-index on Flash because you'd get a new version of Flash in 2 or 3 years that would have some performance upgrades and features. But you didn't have to worry about some Flash killer coming out in next month that is going to completely make it obsolete, and you think about and approach the tool completely differently or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But now that's kind of how things are.
Mhm.
So it's stressful to kind of just determine what workflow and tool set and all that.
do you use AI to figure out where you should focus time, effort, energy? Or like, do you use AI to scrape news together, say, focus here? Or I don't know, like what's your...
the only thing similar to that I've done is to have it do kind of a deep dive on data-driven predictions on where kind of what I do is going. So less about like the tooling and more about like, when is, the human element even going to be, kind of taken out of this equation? Give me data-driven insights to kind of predict, and then in light of that, where do I focus my energy and time? How do I prepare? How do I remain profitable? And and
do you
relevant?
have a routine where you spend the first third of your day kind of brushing up on a skill set you're developing, and then the next third, selling new business, and the last third doing the work? Or I don't know, what do you have any kind of...
I wish I was that regimented.
Anything, practically speaking, that someone watching might find helpful is all I'm kind of wondering, is in terms of, because I know it's different for everyone, and I'm always interested in what that looks like.
Yeah, I'm not consistent in sort of like starting and ending the day and kind of partitioning things that way.
Yeah.
It's more about something sparking my interest and going, well, let me do kind of a quick deep dive on that sort of thing. I am part of a couple of Slack channels where I kind of have people who do that for me. I just pop in and kind of, oh, okay, so that's the new tool that was announced on Twitter. Then I go look at that, share it with 2 or 3, peers who I know could also benefit from knowing about it. And so, hey, is this something we should probably, pivot to and kind of put some energy into? A lot of it's just finding what kind of works for you. And then, even if new or more efficient sort of workflows or tools or platforms come into play, you stick with what works for you until, there really is clearly a big benefit to switching to that next thing. Mm-hmm. So like right now, I'm doing a lot of hands-on development and design stuff. And here's kind of my workflow. You've heard of Lovable probably, right? It's it's Bolt.
I haven't.
If you're a Cursor or Bolt.
Yeah, Cursor. Yeah.
Well, Lovable's one of these web-based AI builders. You can build a site with it.
I'm sure it's spelled funny too. Right?
Yeah. There's no vowels or something. Right?
Yeah, actually there are. Yeah. Surprisingly. I think that was like 10 years ago.
They're just not in the right order. No.
All caps and no vowels. Yeah. We're allergic to vowels.
Is there an HTTPS in front of it?
I believe so.
Do I have to type the S?
www. So like my workflow with a lot of projects right now is I'll kind of prototype with Lovable, get it to the point where it's not to do too much of a nerdy deep dive into sorry about that.
That's okay.
How's this?
You can pull that mic all the way to your chair. If you like.
Yeah.
Prop your feet up, man.
I'm gonna lean in. Like what was his name? The guy with the suspenders. Remember him? Who am I? Larry King.
Oh, Larry. Tell me.
He's the ridiculously big. Tell me about you. So like I'll prototype in Lovable, push it to GitHub through Lovable because they got a little GitHub button right in the top right.
They have a button
They got a GitHub button
in the top
top right. Yes.
Okay.
This is not sponsored by Lovable.
Should be.
Then I'll bust open Cursor locally.
Bust it
open.
open.
And pull down that GitHub repo so everything that I refined and in the prototype on Lovable, and then Cursor allows me to kind of really do the serious, the heavy lifting to building out the rest of that experience, and then kind of deploy it from there. And that's been a game changer for me.
Yeah.
But that's a particular workflow that just it works for me, right?
Yeah,
It checks
right.
the right boxes and stuff. And there's dozens of other ways to kind of get the same result.
And you can get overwhelmed with that pretty quickly, I'd imagine, which is why I think there's an opportunity here to specialize in a certain workflow that is, accomplishes things the way you need it to quickly, and then consult around that for other companies.
Sure.
Aren't you building a little, like you're working towards something like that, where you're going to be a kind of a turnkey resource for companies who are looking to engage in that or to do things with AI or accomplish?
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know if you,
it's something that that kind of touches on where things are kind of currently in the career journey, where I've reconnected with my old business partner from the agency I ran, and as well as a guy who is like a former VP of agencies up in St. Louis. And we've come together and we're kind of trying to start what I would call, how would I put it? Well, I guess ultimately it is an agency, but it's, hopefully a little bit more sort of nimble and kind of relevant to the times, I guess is what I'm trying to say. We're really kind of adapting to where things are right now in terms of everything being AI driven, and we're going to try and do the same things that, the large agencies do. And in any case, one of the things, to touch on your question there, is AI implementation, like actually building these workflows for companies, for clients, going in, finding out what they do, where their pain points are, and saying, hey, we're going to build workflows, AI-driven, agentified workflows for you. In the same way that we would create a microsite for them, or design out the screens for their mobile checkout process, and build that out. So along with those things, we're also kind of using our expertise and kind of combined expertise to go in, and Ash, the main developer guy who was my partner at Drift Lab. He's really good at this stuff, and from kind of a development standpoint, a technical standpoint, and so rambly way of saying yes, we're gonna definitely try and build workflows. AI driven.
Seems like the next natural step.
For sure.
For your background, I mean, it was coming all the way from analog to digital, like you said, mobile.
Well, the thing for me is that I got into this to be a maker and to be a problem solver. And I've tried to be sort of the kind of team leader within the agency space or even some of the product companies I've worked for. And and I think I do that fairly well, but it just doesn't scratch the itch of why I got into this creative world. I want to be hands-on with the tech and tools and ultimately what gets output. That's just that's why I got into this. So
that's awesome. Yeah.
I'm wondering if we take the last 10 minutes or so and do like some sort of rapid fire questions or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing, because like you've now gone full circle. You're back with one of your original partners, and you've done the journey. Like, what's the the goal of Creative Table is to provide wisdom, experience, knowledge, insight from success and failure to the younger creatives coming up behind us. So this episode clearly a wash. I mean, it's a bust, right?
No useful data from this.
Let's try to resuscitate it.
This is a B-side. This was definitely a
So what's something you've learned, from maybe the business side? We've talked a lot about the tool side, the creative side, but from the business side and the client relationship side, what are the things you've learned that you're like, man, if I could share one or two things, like do this or don't do this, what do you got?
Can we tighten the parameters on that? No,
If you had to choose W-2 route as a creative contractor, entrepreneurial journey, or try to partner with someone on something, like where would you recommend somebody in today's context start? Maybe that's a way to...
I think it's knowing your personality first and foremost. There are plenty of people, and this is why I get frustrated with a lot of the entrepreneur bros because they so many of them speak as though everybody has that bent and that desire, or that you're lesser if you're not that way.
Right.
But there are plenty of people who want to just be a W-2 employee and use their skill set that way and have that structure, that consistency, and they thrive in that. And I completely respect that. And I've had seasons in my career where I definitely have leaned that way. Yeah. So to answer that question, I think it's knowing your kind of innate bent and inclination. Some people just have a lot of anxiety if they don't have guardrails and a lack of consistency.
Yeah.
And really struggle with the fact that they may be super busy for a month and then it's tumbleweeds for a month. And that just, that can be completely...
Small business roller coaster.
Oh yeah, that ain't for everybody. So I think that the main thing there is really self-awareness and knowing who you are, your bent, your limitations, what you can live with and what you can't, and where you thrive and where you don't thrive. And I think it's easy to say that for a young creative starting out, but a lot of that, a lot of people are like me, and they when they were younger, they didn't have a lot of self-awareness about their boundaries and what they can tolerate and can't tolerate, and they have to kind of experience different things to arrive at a conclusion there, and saying, okay, that doesn't work for me, but this works for me.
Yeah. Is that something that would go in that category of things you wish you'd known back then that you know now, or is there a different answer you'd have to that question?
I have mixed feelings about that. In one sense, yes, I would love to have kind of known this is where I thrive and what I do best, and I could have,
saved
hindsight
time.
2020, that whole thing. On the other hand, there have been amazing growth opportunities and experiences that wouldn't have led to growth and maturity and refinement had I not said, okay, these people are toxic, and how did I get into this situation?
Yeah.
And I'm not doing a great job, for various reasons, because I'm not it's not the right fit. So this is stressful and uncomfortable, yada, yada. I think self-awareness is important, and I feel mixed about that. I think there's advantages to kind of knowing right out of the gate, but then there's the whole experience thing that can be of benefit.
What do you think about that divide between, as a creative, do you want to go into, pursuing a degree? Let's talk to the kid coming into college, right? Or going maybe for a master's. Do you pursue your degree in the field of creativity? You're going to go be that interior designer, or do you go get a business degree knowing that you need to understand that half of the puzzle in order to succeed? Your creativity is not going anywhere, and you can learn that trade alongside of a formal business education. I just wonder, because I know there's different philosophies about that as well.
Yeah. And I thought
Andy and I like to joke that we go to FU, which is Failure University, right? Where we've learned a lot over the last 15, 20 years that maybe we could have avoided if we'd had an MBA from XYZ University. But personally, I'm going to go the fine art route and then into digital and visual effects, and then figure out the business side.
Yeah.
But I couldn't help sometimes wonder, maybe I should just go the business route and then just learned the craft over here afterwards.
Yeah.
Wondering what your thoughts are around that.
So I definitely lean more towards the more generalized business route of things, because the tooling is only going to continue to get more and more agentified.
Yeah.
To the point where, the engineer is going to be able to talk to his device and say, all right, give me a bridge profile, whatever, with all the specs, and ensure that it is, up to code based on best practices with, and I obviously have no idea what I'm talking about there, but you get the point that the tooling is going to do more and more and more of that which you would have previously needed, technical training and schooling on.
Right.
At the same time, you still need to understand those core principles and that kind of thing. But I think just having a general business sense, and is going to be the most important thing going into the future that we're kind of looking at. And I think that universities are going to have to kind of rework their programs where they're these kind of business degree programs are going to really have to incorporate and leverage how to interact with agents. And
yeah, it's going to be messy.
It is.
They're slow to change. They're slow to move.
Oh, big time.
It's going to be messy.
Yeah. My son's learning all manner of not relevant stuff anymore with accounting spreadsheets and things like this. Then on the one hand, it's good to kind of flex those cognitive muscles, I guess, to understand, why and just but at college level, you're like, why did my two kids who are in filmmaking and music and production school have to take a semester of geology?
Right.
In college.
Right.
I'm not going to be a freaking geologist.
Yeah, and there's the
I
argument.
might make a movie about it, Rob.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm not writing songs about geology.
Igneous rocks coming soon to you. There's something to be said for just kind of the well-rounded thinker, and stretching certain muscles there or whatever. But man, it's just so hard to gauge and to know where to. Back to your question, like, I wonder about college. I feel like, in the near future, college is going to be some kind of like open AI sponsored.
There's schools already doing that. I forgot the name of the school, but there's already schools that are employing AI to teach kids, and they're running circles around this parallel school over here. It's interesting where it's all going.
So and don't ask my wife about any of this because she'll say college is a racket in general, and but I think that it's going to be harder and harder for universities to be relevant and profitable in the coming years.
Yeah, they've got some serious pivoting to do, it would seem.
It's almost like the same thing with agencies in a sense, on a kind of high level, that I think things are going to get much more specialized and kind of focused. And what do I know though?
Yeah.
Maybe the murder bots will just all get deployed and
well,
those of us who didn't say please and thank you to our agent models we might get spared.
Well, awesome having you jump in and high level tackle some of these things, review, your history, your life, your journey. This has been great. Excited to have you come back too on our kind of cousin channel where we're diving into specifics of AI, because you are a deep thinker guru and you're investing time investigating AI and you're spending time there. And I think that's going to be hugely valuable for you to come and part of that conversation.
Yeah.
And part of that discussion to share what you're learning with specific tools where we actually open them up on the screen and we're talking about them.
Sweet. Sounds great.
Yeah.
I'm grateful to have been able to be a part of this.
So if you've not checked it out yet, creativetableshow.com will take you to the main list, but what Andy's describing too is going to be available on a separate list eventually, where there will be dedicated episodes around the practical skill sets needed to deploy these AI technologies in your line of work, creatively speaking. So stay tuned for that. Scott, thanks for being here, dude. And I know we'll see you again, as Andy mentioned. And any final words?
Yeah, I mean, we found one of your early works. It was, really inspirational.
That's right. I think we should probably go out on that. Probably the best work you've done. You mentioned Jeep and Mercedes and Bacardi, but I think this one's a solid choice here. Are we sharing that?
Jamie, bring that up.
Yeah, Jamie.
Do you have a Jamie?
Enrique.
We have an Enrico.
All right.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that.
Really
Here.
appreciate it.
Yeah, man. And on that note, check this
Scott's
out.
best work.
Oh, Lord. I can't
All
take
right.
credit for that.
Until next time, everyone,
I wish I had done that.
like, subscribe, and we'll see you on Mars.
Wait for it.
Get your ass to Mars.